Hola, ¿qué tal? Welcome to the channel made by two humans who live in Spain, where we want you to be happier traveling throughout the Iberian Peninsula with the help of our videos and of our self-guided walking tours. And welcome to a new session of questions and answers and general travel news. The next Q&A session on the first Sunday of May. If you have any questions for that video, feel free to ask. To streamline the format, from now on we are going to select questions from all those received based on the following criteria. We will answer all questions from channel members, and we will also answer questions that we consider to be of general interest. And left out will be those questions about the things that have already been answered in the video. It gets annoying for viewers to see the same questions answered over and over. Questions that are very specific and questions that contain multiple questions are huge. Before the questions, and as usual, let's go over some news from the world of travel. Several people asked how the conflict in the Middle East is impacting tourism in Spain. And the truth is that there is no impact whatsoever except for the rise in prices related to the increase in oil costs. The EES entry-exit system continues to worry a lot of people, especially those who have connecting flights. We arrived in Madrid from South America on Monday and the EES machines were turned off. But there's one update. For the first time in our lives, we encountered long lines at the automatic passport control for European Union citizens. You know how we always say that for those with a European passport, getting through passport control is really fast? Well, don't count on that anymore. There's some news on the EES. If you watch our video with questions about the control, you'll remember that we mentioned the existence of an app, Travel to Europe, which is supposed to help with the EES process. When we recorded that video, the app was only available in Sweden. Now it can also be used in Portugal. We've watched several videos on the subject, and in all of them it was clear that the author of the video hadn't actually used or tested the app. We took a look at it. It lets you, so to speak, pre-enter some information that you would otherwise have to provide at the EES machines. But in our view, it doesn't eliminate the requirement to go through the kiosk, where you will still need to validate the QR code the app generates. We think that for now, it's a lot of work for very little benefit. Going through the kiosks is usually quick and the process is pretty straightforward, probably more so than using the app. And the app doesn't get you out of waiting in line for your turn at the kiosk. So we don't think it's the magic solution some people are selling it as. But try it if you want, it won't hurt. Now for some bad news. A reader shared with us what happened to him on a bus trip from Seville to Granada. His suitcase, placed in the luggage compartment of the bus, was stolen while the bus was still in Seville. He only found out when he arrived in Granada. Unlike what happens in other countries, at most bus stations the access control to the luggage compartment is very lax. We always stay right by the compartment door until it is closed. The official Barcelona tourism website has changed its name. Previously Visit Barcelona, it is now This is Barcelona. You already know it's the website where we always recommend buying tickets for Barcelona. Don't be surprised if you click one of our Visit Barcelona links and end up at This is Barcelona. It's the same trusted page, the official Barcelona tourism website. Speaking of Barcelona, the video we published with a one-day Montserrat itinerary was a huge success. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. The link is in the first comment below this video, where we will place all the links of the videos and sources mentioned along the program. Montserrat is one of the coolest day trips you can take from Barcelona. And now let's talk trains. Every week someone asks whether you can just buy high-speed train tickets on the spot when you arrive in Spain. And every week we have to remind you that this is a terrible idea. To travel by high-speed train and pay less, buy your tickets as far in advance as possible. For those who are into this kind of thing, Renfe, the public train operator, has launched a map that lets you see in real time the location of its trains across Spain. By clicking on a train, you can see route information and also whether it's running on time or delayed. Link below. By the way, after the high-speed train accident in January, speeds, especially on the route between Madrid and Barcelona, haven't returned to what they were, and as a result, travel times are considerably longer. We used to travel from Zaragoza to Madrid in 1 hour and 20 minutes, and now the trip takes nearly 2 hours. It will likely be a long time before travel times return to what they were before, because there is a lot of infrastructure maintenance work that needs to be completed. In the video where we explained how to travel between Spain and Portugal, we said that there was no high-speed train connection between the two countries, and we also added that it would be a very long time before we'd see a high-speed train between Lisbon and Madrid. Well, sure enough, the armchair commenters jumped in right away to point out that we didn't know what we were talking about, that Portugal already had a very advanced high-speed rail project and that it would be up and running soon. As you already know, commenting on YouTube is free. Well, the Portuguese Prime Minister has just announced that the high-speed line between Lisbon and Madrid should be operational in 2034. Seems like we weren't so out of the loop after all. We traveled outside of Europe recently and tested a new eSIM. For those who are not familiar, an eSIM is a virtual SIM that you install on your phone without needing to deal with a physical SIM card. We have a video where we introduced eSIMs. Up until now, we had already used eSIMs from Airalo and Olafly, and now we have tested Saily. We really enjoyed the experience. The company offers eSIMs with both limited and unlimited data. Setup and installation is the simplest of the three. For Airalo and Saily, we have a 15% discount code for new users. For Olafly, 5%. Make the most of them. And now, 2 personal stories about incidents flying with Iberia. Our flight this same week from São Paulo in Brazil to Madrid was full of complications, but the best part was the number of channel followers who recognized us and with whom we had a great time chatting and giving last-minute tips. But let's get to the incidents. One of our suitcases arrived damaged, missing a wheel. What you need to do if you have any problem with your luggage is, as soon as you notice the issue, still at the airport, go to the baggage service desk and file a claim. It is essential that you get a code called a PIR, which is required to make any claim. Well, we did that on Monday, and believe it or not, by Tuesday at noon, a suitcase was delivered to our home to replace the broken one. 10 out of 10 for Iberia's customer service in this specific case. And now let's go to the case where Iberia gets a 0. For this same trip, we booked a round-trip ticket in Iberia's premium economy class, which features wider, more comfortable seats. It's a long flight, over 10 hours, and we felt the investment was worth it. But a few days before the trip, when I went to check the reservation, Iberia had swapped the aircraft for the return flight and eliminated the premium economy class without notifying us at any point. I called Iberia's customer service, where they confirmed the change but told us that only the seat had changed and that all the other benefits remained the same, such as 2 checked bags and priority boarding. A bunch of nonsense to keep us from filing a complaint. We paid for premium economy for the seat, not for the associated perks. In order to file a claim, you have to wait until the flight is completed. That's what we did, and on Monday we went ahead and submitted the claim demanding the compensation the law provides for. We received a very quick response from Iberia that showed they hadn't even read our complaint properly, stating that we flew the return leg in economy class because it was our choice. Unbelievable response, and also unbelievable that the same company can act so well and so poorly on the same day. There was a new claim we made, a new response from Iberia offering us compensation well below what's contemplated by law. We're telling you all of this not because we enjoy sharing details of our personal lives here on the channel. You know, the channel is not about our trips, but about what we can do for your trips. But because we're convinced that airlines save a tremendous amount of money simply because people don't take action to demand that the law be followed. Having exhausted the complaint process with Iberia, we are now moving on to AESA, which is the Spanish agency where you can file your complaints to demand compliance with the law. Once we have a final response, we'll explain in another video how it all went. In our specific case, the law provides for a 75% refund of the amount paid for the flight on which we were downgraded to a lower class. And now we start with the questions. Let's move quickly because there are a lot of them. First, questions from our channel members. If you like the work we do and want to support our channel, you can become a channel member. Nestor has a flight in Madrid at 4:20 p.m. and wants to know if he can take a high-speed train on the same day from Barcelona at 8 a.m., arriving in Madrid at 11:17 a.m. without worrying about possible delays. Nestor, we just talked about that in the previous video. Personally, we wouldn't make that connection as there are too many delays and scares on the lines for you to make that connection worry-free. That same-day connection would only be a valid alternative if you arrived in Madrid in the morning and your flight was close to midnight. We would go to sleep in Madrid. If you still have time to reorganize your itinerary in Spain, we would suggest leaving Madrid for the end of your trip. Estela wants to know what language is spoken in Spain. Is it only Spanish or are there dialects? She wants to know if it's just a matter of accent and if there are significant differences, which region would be most similar to Portuguese. Excellent question, Estela. In Spain, there are 4 official languages. Spanish, spoken everywhere. Catalan, spoken in Catalonia and some other regions. Euskera or Basque, spoken in the Basque country. And Galician, spoken in Galicia. In addition, there are many dialects. And the pronunciations of Spanish itself are very diverse. The Spanish spoken by someone from Cadiz is completely different from that spoken by someone from Vigo. It's the same as in the US, for example, only in a much smaller territory. In addition to differences in pronunciation, there are also many lexical differences. Galician, by the way, would be the most similar language to the Portuguese spoken in Portugal. Katia asks if we know that there is a shop from the Portuguese egg custard manufacturer Manteigaria in Madrid and wants to know if we have tried the pastéis de nata there. Hi Katia, yes, we knew that. In fact, there are several chains of Portuguese pastéis de nata in cities across Spain. It's not as widespread as in Lisbon, but they keep popping up. We haven't tried the pastéis de nata in Madrid, no, but we usually prefer to go to the source. But if you're not planning to visit Portugal on your next trip and you are craving pastéis de nata, they probably aren't bad. You know, we really like manteigaria. Alfredo wants to know if 2 hours is enough time to make a connection at Madrid airport from Terminal 4S to Terminal 4 to catch a flight to Northern Europe. Alfredo, it would have been very helpful if you had told us which airlines you were planning to fly with and whether you would need to collect your luggage in Madrid. We could have given you a more personalized answer. Before EES, we always recommended 2 hours for a connection with the same airline when you didn't need to collect your luggage. Now, with the EES, we think it's wise to add another half an hour, making it 2.5 hours. If the EES sounds like Greek to you, it's a new entry checkpoint before immigration. We mentioned it earlier, and we have a video in the channel where we explain everything you need to know. Our dear friends Ramon and Zoe are planning a 45-day trip based in Barcelona and want to know which towns to visit and what the best mode of transportation is. We have a video on our channel that fully answers your question, featuring the best day trips from Barcelona. There are 2 major cities worth spending a full day in, Girona and Tarragona, and then there is a long list of smaller towns. Whenever we can, we take the train, but in the video you will see that we have included details on how to get to each of these places. You can use the train in most of those cases, the bus in a few of them. Have a great stay in Barcelona. Pilar wants to know if she needs an international driver's license to rent a car in Spain. Pilar, the answer to your question depends on your nationality. Spain has agreements with certain countries that allow you to drive using your home country's license. However, in any case, you should always contact the rental company. The police might not ask for it, but the rental company may require an international driving permit. Estela plans to move to Spain in a few years and wants to know if she needs to learn Spain. She knows there are regional differences. Without a doubt, don't be the expatriate who's been to Spain 30 years and doesn't speak a word of Spanish. If you want to move to Spain and integrate into the country, a good command of the language is essential. There are marked regional differences, but it doesn't matter which one you learn, they are all useful and will help you communicate. Graciela will be in Lisbon on April 25th, which is a local bank holiday, and she wants to know if we recommend staying in the city or going on a day trip. She's not sure what the holiday entails. Graciela, we would stay in the city. It's a very special holiday, a civic celebration featuring a large parade in the city center in the afternoon, as well as free concerts and other events. The local tourist office will be able to provide you with information about the events. There will be quite a few people in the city center and there may be traffic delays. You could go on a day trip, but the destinations closest to Lisbon, such as Sintra, will be crowded with people taking advantage of the holiday to travel. Mariana wants to know how she can prove her financial resources when entering Spain. Bank statement, credit card limit. You can verify this with cash, your bank account statement, or your credit card statement showing your credit limit. We discussed this topic in the video about immigration that we mentioned in the video where you left your question. We will leave a link to that video in the first pinned comment below. Anna wants to know if we have any special advice for the St. John festivities in Galicia and which cities and respective day trips are most interesting in this region. Anna, unfortunately, we don't have any experience with these festivals. The most important thing is the celebration with bonfires on the night of St. John. The only content we have about Galicia on the channel so far is a video about Santiago de Compostela. La Coruña, Lugo, Orense, Pontevedra, Santiago de Compostela, Vigo, and the Rías Baixas are places worth visiting. Larissa wants to know how much money she needs to prove for an 18-day stay in Spain and Portugal. Can she use her credit card? How is it done? Larissa, the detailed answer to your question was in the video we recommended watching about immigration-related questions. If requested, you must prove the proportional amount required by Spain in relation to the number of days you will be staying in Spain and the proportional amount required by Portugal. Maria Stella wants to know what the weather is like in Galicia in October. In the video about the best time to visit Spain, you will see the general weather patterns in the past, but in a present dominated by climatic anomalies, you will only be certain a few days before your trip. October is a time of transition. Some years it feels more like summer, others it feels more like winter is coming. Take a look at the video where we talk about the weather forecast in Spain. Andres wants to know if we think Talavera de la Reina is a good day trip from Madrid. Andres, we can't answer that because we've only passed through Talavera quickly. Maru has been to Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Córdoba, Ronda, Granada, Málaga, and Toledo. She has always traveled in January, but now she's going to travel for 12 days in May. And she wanted to know which new cities we would recommend she visit. Maru, you could head to Galicia and spend the 12 days there. Or take a tour of the Basque Country, visiting Bilbao, San Sebastian, and the La Rioja region as well. Or visit the big cities of the plateau, such as Segovia, Avila, or Salamanca. That's a few names for you. Guga would like to see a video of ours about the current feeling on the peninsula regarding the war in the Middle East for those who are traveling next month, and about what authorities in Portugal and Spain are saying about the conflict. Guga, we don't usually publish videos about current events, let alone politics, unless there is a very strong link to the channel's theme, which is tourism, which would not be the case here. Besides, anything we record today will be out of date by the time the video goes live. Rai would like to know if we have any videos with plans or recommendations for traveling with young children ages 2 to 5. We don't know how many times we've answered these questions, but we don't mind doing it again. No, we don't. For two reasons: because we don't have children and we like to base the content of this channel on first-hand information. And secondly, because it's a very complex issue. Even narrowing down the age range as you have done. No two children are the same. Some children do whatever their parents do, while others demand a specific program of activities centered around them. Amada Cocina sends a long query with multiple questions. Wants to know where we recommend staying in Madrid and makes it clear that they haven't seen the video in which they left the question because they mentioned Airbnb as an option. We really appreciate it when you watch the videos before asking questions. She shows us her itinerary but doesn't mention how many days she will spend in each place, which makes it difficult for us to comment. And she also asks about hotels in Alicante, Segovia, and Barcelona. Finally, she asks us if she should buy train tickets in advance or when she arrives in Spain. Let's take it step by step. We'll leave you links to several videos about accommodation in Madrid, and take a look at the video where you left your question to see what we said about Airbnb. We will also leave you links about accommodation in Barcelona. For now, we don't have anything specific about Alicante or Segovia. And we will also leave you a link to the video with mistakes to avoid when buying train tickets. Your question has been answered countless times, including the present video. Buying the tickets at the last minute is a terrible idea. Paul wants to know if it is now possible to purchase the T-Mobilitat card with a T-Usual ticket at the Barcelona airport machines, and to confirm this type of transit card is valid for tourists. The answer to both questions is yes. It's always been possible to buy them at the airport ticket machines, and it is valid for tourists. You will find more details on the video on Barcelona airport transportation. Edson will be traveling with his family by car between Madrid, Santa Susana, Barcelona and Valencia. He is going by car because he has a small child and does not feel confident traveling by public transportation, and he wants some tips on driving between these destinations. Edson, many people travel by public transport, especially by high-speed train, without any problems, even with infants. The issue is that the car will be of no use to you in Barcelona or Valencia and will also generate expenses such as parking. We have a video with tips on renting a car in Spain that we recommend you watch. Melissa is traveling to Barcelona, Madrid, Granada and Seville and would like to know how to hail taxis, especially since she will be leaving very early some days. She would also like to know if there is a taxi app that works throughout Spain or if it is better to hail taxis on the street. Well, you hail taxis on the street, you raise your hand. There is no app that works throughout Spain, at least none we have experience of use, but in general it is easy to hail a taxi on the street. The only exception is Seville, where we do not recommend using taxis as they have a very bad reputation. It is better to use a ride-sharing service. For early morning taxis, ask your hotel to book one for you. Joanny read there are discounts for teachers at the Prado Museum in Madrid and wants to know if it's only for Spanish teachers since she teaches in Arizona. Joanny, the discounts, in the specific case of the Prado Museum, it is not a discount but free admission, apply to you as well. To be eligible for this discount, you will need to present your International Teachers Card, ITIC, and you may also be asked for official ID. Tomás is going on a trip to visit Porto, Lisbon, Seville, Córdoba, Granada and Barcelona, and he will be traveling a lot by bus. He wanted to know how far in advance we recommend buying tickets, and he also wants to know if it's better to travel by train than by bus, and how far in advance he should buy train tickets. Tomás, some bus companies sell tickets well in advance, others only a month in advance. In any case, unless it's a critical date, you can buy them a few days in advance. Whenever possible, we always travel by train rather than bus. And as we never tire of reminding you, buy your train tickets as far in advance as possible. Claudia is staying in Getafe and wants to know how to get from Barajas Airport to Getafe. And Claudia hasn't watched the video where she left her question because she would have come across the "help us so we can help you" message several times. If you give us a specific address, we'll give you a specific answer. But with a vague description, we can only tell you that to get to Getafe, a large city south of Madrid, you can take a taxi or a ride-sharing service. Depending on the specific location you want to reach, which we don't know, you can also take the train, involving several line changes. Eneida wants to travel in May, but it is concerned about what is happening. Well, Eneida, you weren't very specific in your comment. What is happening in Spain, or are you referring to the war? If it's the situation in the Gulf, as of today, we mentioned it earlier, it has very little impact on tourism in Spain. Luis Arturo is in charge of a group and wanted to know if he can use his credit cards to cover the amounts required by immigration for the stay of everyone in his group. Well, if it is an organized trip, we imagine, this is our intuition, not verified official information, that it should be possible. But to do so, you would need to have an astronomical credit limit on your credit card. Make sure your card can cover the maximum amount that would be necessary. Ned has decided to rent a car to get from Zaragoza to San Sebastian, and he would like to take a scenic route and see a little of the Pyrenees. Wants to know if we have any route suggestions and thoughts on what to see. Ned, we haven't worked on the Zaragoza to San Sebastian route, but we have an entire road trip dedicated to the Pyrenees. You will find the link on the first comment below the video. To see the Pyrenees, you will have to take a small detour. After the end of that road trip in Jaca, you can drive towards San Sebastian. Natalia wants to know how to travel from Ourense in Galicia to Porto in Portugal. As far as we know, there is no direct transport, so you will have to travel to Vigo or Santiago and change transport there. We have a video on our channel showing the main connections between Spain and Portugal, and we will leave the link below. In it, you will see that there are direct buses leaving from Santiago and that there are also trains leaving from Vigo. A valuable tip: don't make this trip on the day of your flight departure if you intend to catch a flight at Porto Airport. Vicky is going to visit Cordoba, Seville and Granada, and she's thinking of staying in one place and going on day trips from there. She wanted to know which city we recommend she stay in, as she wants to choose one and use it as a base to visit the others. Vicky, for Seville and Granada, we recommend a non-negotiable minimum of 3 nights, and for that reason your plan won't work very well. You could visit Cordoba on a day trip from Seville, but we also recommend spending the night in Cordoba, which has a lot to see and is very beautiful at night. There is no magic solution. If you want to visit all 3 cities with a minimum of hassle, you will have to change hotels as you change cities. Carlos is going to walk the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James, and plans to stay in hostels for a few days, where advanced reservations are not possible. He wants to know how the issue of proof of accommodation will be handled at immigration control on arrival to Spain. Carlos, we talk about this specific scenario in the video dedicated to immigration questions, which we recommend you watch. As you know, it is mandatory to have accommodation reservations for every day of your stay in the European Union. But in the specific case of the Camino de Santiago, there is an exception that takes into account the particularities of this trip. However, make sure you carry documentation that leaves no doubt that you are going to be walking the Camino during those days for which you cannot prove you have accommodation reservations. Reservations for the days before and after that period without reservations should help considerably. Gato Madre wants to know about safe and affordable neighborhoods to stay in Madrid. We are going to refer you to the video where we talk about all the neighborhoods we recommend staying in Madrid, including one where prices are more affordable. Marianela is traveling in April and wants to use her drone. She wants to know if there are any regulations and what she needs to do to be able to use it. We already made a short video talking about the major restrictions on drone use, especially in populated areas. Take a look. Also, Google AESA drones, AESA is the official agency responsible for regulating drone operation. There you will see how complicated it is to fly a drone, especially in urban areas. The authorities are paying more and more attention to these unauthorized flights because of the risk they pose. Drone confiscation and hefty fines. Pay attention. Cesar wants to know if there is a problem with the rail connection between Barcelona and Tarragona, as tickets have not been available for sale for weeks. Cesar, on the day you made your inquiry, there were no problems. Those tickets cannot be purchased online, which is why you found out that you could not buy them. Between mid-March and June, there is going to be infrastructure improvement works on a section of that line, which will mean a reduction in the number of trains, as some sections will only be open to traffic on one of the tracks. However, if you see a timetable advertised for a specific date, it means that the train will be running. You buy the tickets on the day of the trip at the station. Gladys is planning to travel to Spain in June and wants to know whether she should book her tours from the United States or once she's here. The truth is, the answer depends entirely on the specific tour you want to take. Some tours always have openings while others don't. But it is impossible for us to give a one-size-fits-all answer. June is peak season, keep that in mind. And check out the video on the tickets you should buy in advance. Pay particular attention to the Alhambra in Granada and the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. Nicolas is visiting Barcelona at the end of May and has asked us for recommendations on city tours. Nicolas, as always in this section, help us help you. You didn't tell us how many days you will be in Barcelona, which makes it hard for us to answer. We also don't know what interests you. If you are into modernism, you could buy the Modernista card and plan a 3-day itinerary that connects all the monuments it includes. And of course, our 4 self-guided walking tours dedicated to Barcelona should be of huge help to you. Cesar is going to be staying at an Airbnb in Barcelona and is worried about a comment we made in a previous video. Well, our comment was that a traveler who cares about minimizing their impact on the cities they visit should avoid using Airbnb in Spain. That's all there is to it. If you don't want to be part of a business whose contribution to the deterioration of life in tourist cities has been significant, avoid Airbnb. That's all there is to it. There is no need to be scared. Just be aware that the way we travel has an impact on the places we visit. Most Airbnb in Barcelona a few years ago were the homes of local residents. Oscar is planning to visit Spain in mid-November and wants to know if it's worth going to Vigo. Well, it's the same old story. Without knowing your itinerary or how many days you have, it's hard to help you. If you're traveling from Madrid just to see Vigo, we'd say probably not. If you were touring Galicia, we'd probably say yes, absolutely. But we don't have enough information to be able to help. Now someone who wants to know the best way to travel from Madrid to Paris. He's seen that there is a train that goes through Barcelona, but the trip is too long, and wants to know if we know of another option. And yes, of course, by far the best way to travel between the two capitals is by plane. Nothing else comes close. Rosanna bought tickets to travel with Wigo by high-speed train in December and now needs to cancel one of them. She wants to know if she can get a refund for that ticket. Rosanna, that will depend on the rules of the fare you purchased. You will need to check that information as we don't know the exact fare you paid. Some Wigo fares allow refunds while others do not. It's always essential to check these rules at the time of purchase. Viviane has two questions. The first is that she wants to travel from Seville to Malaga by train, but Renfe isn't selling tickets. And the second is what is the fastest way to get from the airport to Atocha in Madrid. So starting with the second question, the fastest options are taxis and ride-sharing services. The video about airport transportation in Madrid covers all the details, including other ways to get to Atocha. And regarding the first question, there are two ways to make this trip. The first is by conventional train, which takes 3 hours. Tickets for May had not gone on sale yet when you checked. The second is by high-speed train with a connection in Córdoba. There was an issue on the Malaga line that forced train services to be suspended, but it should be back up and running by May. Bianca wants to know how to buy a ticket for the Real Madrid game on April 21st, because people say it's almost impossible to buy one through the official website. Is there another way to buy tickets? She arrives in Madrid on the 20th. She also wants to know if the paid tour of the Football Club Barcelona stadium is worth it. Bianca, it's really hard to buy tickets for Real Madrid and Barcelona, mainly because very few tickets go on sale, and when they do, they are at steep prices because that's where the team makes a lot of money. We would only buy them on the official website or at the box office, never anywhere else. And you need to pay attention because April 21st is the match day, but the exact date of the game isn't confirmed until a few weeks before. It could be a day earlier or a day later. As for Camp Nou, Barcelona Stadium, we already talked about it in a previous Q&A video. For the time being, the tour isn't worth it since it doesn't take you inside the stadium. Armindo had heard about the Travel to Europe app, which is designed to speed up the EES process, and wanted to find out more about it. Armindo, we discussed this app in the video dedicated to answering questions about the EES, and also we talked about a new development at the beginning of the video, so check it out. Silvina has 2 high-speed train tickets for May, both to and from Malaga, and she saw on the news that there have been problems on that line. She wanted to know if the issues are ongoing and how she can stay informed. Yes, there have been issues stemming from the accident in January and then a major landslide that forced the line to be closed. Service should resume in April. The best thing to do is download the Renfe app and create an account to receive notifications about service changes. The Renfe website also usually posts updates on any disruptions. Florencia wants to visit Jerez de la Frontera one day and Cádiz another day, traveling from Seville, but she cannot find train tickets in advance on either Renfe or the train line. She wanted to know if she can buy them on the day of travel. Florencia, we've already discussed these trains several times in our Q&A videos. They are medium-distance trains that include seat reservations. That means that once all the seats are sold out, no more tickets are sold. That's why we would not wait until the last minute to buy them. Depending on the day of the week, the trains can get full. You are not finding the tickets because they usually only go on sale a month before the travel date. Ernesto lives in Miami and is thinking about flying to Seville with a layover at Lisbon Airport. He wants to know how much time he should allow to ensure he doesn't miss his connecting flight. Lisbon Airport is notorious for the massive delays that can occur in the immigration line, and that was before the EES. EES nearly caused the airport to collapse to the point that Portuguese authorities suspended it for 3 months. So, if, as we imagine, you don't have a European passport, and if you book both legs with the same airline, we would allow at least 3 hours. If you're traveling with different airlines, we would increase that buffer to 4 hours. Lucy is changing trains in Madrid and needs to know how to get from Chamartín station to Atocha station. If you're not traveling with heavy luggage, the local trains are your best option. Lines C1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8 and 10 connect both stations. Travel time is approximately 15 minutes. Make sure you leave at least 90 minutes between the estimated arrival time of your train and the departure time of your connection. And if you use the Combinados Cercanías benefit, and we will leave you a link where we explain how it works, you will not have to pay for the local train. And that was the last question for today. We will see you next month in the next Q&A session and in all the new videos we have programmed for the month. If you are traveling through Spain and Portugal, we hope you'll have a great time. Safe travels!